You know that feeling, right? That stubborn, nagging neck pain that just will not quit. You stretch, you rest, you do everything you're supposed to, but it always comes back. Well, what if the real problem isn't just a simple muscle knot? What if the answer is way deeper and a lot more complex? Today, we're going to peel back the hidden layers of neck pain. So, that's the big question, isn't it? Why does some pain stick around long, long after any physical injury should have been totally healed? It turns out the answer is rarely just one thing. We're about to dive into all the hidden layers, from some really surprising physical conditions to the actual wiring of our brains. Okay, so let's start with the physical stuff. The first suspect is always our muscles, right? But what if the real issue is something else entirely? Something hidden that's super easy to miss? So, on one hand, you've got something pretty common like myofascial pain syndrome. Most of us know what that feels like, those deep, aching trigger points or knots in the muscle. But on the other hand, you have something way, way rarer, like Crown-Dehn syndrome. This has nothing to do with muscles. It's caused by these tiny calcium crystal deposits that literally form a crown around one of the vertebrae in your upper neck. And check this out. This isn't muscle, it's bone and crystal. You can actually see it on the CT scan. Those bright white spots are the calcium deposits forming that crown. This is a perfect example of pain that's totally invisible in a normal physical exam. You'd only ever find it with advanced imaging like this. So how would anyone even know to look for something so unusual? Well, it often shows up with this very specific trio of symptoms: really bad pain at the base of the skull, a super stiff neck, and a fever. Now, you can see why it might get misdiagnosed as something like meningitis, right? It's a classic hidden physical culprit. Okay, so that's a rare condition. But what if the source of your neck pain isn't rare at all? What if it's something you do every single day? Let's talk about the strain of our modern lives. 7.5 billion. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many people will be using mobile phones soon. And it points to this massive global shift in how we hold our bodies. We're all living this forward, head-down lifestyle, constantly looking down at our screens. And that posture puts this slow, constant strain on our necks. And this leads us to a fascinating concept with let's be honest, a very hard-to-pronounce name: cervicovaginopathy. The theory is that our tech neck posture can actually stretch or pinch one of the most important nerves in our entire body, the vagus nerve, which runs right down the front of our neck. And this is where it gets really mind-blowing. When the vagus nerve gets irritated, it's not just about neck pain anymore. It can set off this whole cascade of symptoms that seem totally unrelated. Things like anxiety, dizziness, chronic fatigue, even insomnia. A structural problem in your neck can have these huge body-wide effects. All right, we've looked at hidden physical issues and our daily habits. But what about the emotional side of things? Let's dive into the really powerful connection between our past experiences and the physical pain we feel in the here and now. This is such a powerful idea, and it's not just some poetic thought, it's actual science. The pathways in our brain that process physical pain and emotional pain are deeply, deeply connected. In a very real sense, to your brain, pain is pain. This is the big idea behind what's called the biopsychosocial model of health. It's a fancy term, but it just means that your pain isn't only a signal from an injury. It's an entire experience that gets shaped by your biology, your psychology, like your emotions and past traumas, and even your social world, like your job or your culture. And this can trap you in this really frustrating feedback loop. Let's walk through it. So, chronic pain stops you from doing things you enjoy. That, naturally, leads to feeling anxious or angry or depressed. But, and this is the key, those negative emotions physically make you more sensitive to pain, and they tighten your muscles, which makes the pain worse. So the cycle just fuels itself, and it can feel impossible to break. So what if the pain isn't even just a signal anymore? What if it's become a learned habit in your brain? Let's dig into how pain can become this automatic program that just runs on its own. The idea here is called a neural tag or a neurotag. The best way to think about it is like software running in your brain. It's a network of brain cells that have learned to fire together to create a result, whether that result is riding a bike, feeling a jolt of anxiety, or experiencing chronic pain. I love this analogy. Once that neural path gets created and you walk down it over and over, it becomes the default route. It's like a well-worn path in a forest that eventually becomes a superhighway. The brain just takes that path automatically. which is why chronic pain can feel so reflexive and completely out of your control. Now, here's the really crucial part, both the challenge and the opportunity. A pain or trauma pathway can be created in an instant. They call it one-trial learning. A single, intense event is enough to carve that highway in your brain. But building a new, healthy pathway, well, that takes work. It takes conscious, consistent repetition. You are literally forging a brand new trail in that forest, and it takes time before it becomes the easy, default route for your brain. Okay, so we've looked at the physical, the structural, the emotional, and the neurological layers. The big question is, what do we do with all this? How does understanding all this actually help? Let's bring it all together and talk about rewriting that pain story. The most important thing to take away from all of this is that your pain is a complex story, not just a single event. It might have a physical chapter about something hidden like those crystal deposits. It has a structural chapter about your daily habits. It's got an emotional chapter about your past, and a neurological chapter about the habits your brain has learned. Just seeing all these layers is the first huge step toward addressing the whole picture. And this brings us to the most hopeful part of this whole thing, the good news. Your brain is not set in stone. It has this incredible ability to change and wire itself. It's called neuroplasticity. By building new healthy pathways through practice and repetition, those old pain pathways can literally start to fade away. Your brain prunes the connections it doesn't use anymore. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. If our brains are powerful enough to learn pain so well that it becomes an automatic program, that means they are also powerful enough to learn something new. They can learn safety, they can learn ease, they can learn different responses. The question isn't just about how to stop the pain, it's this: what will you teach your brain next?